All right, so welcome to Groth Gets It podcast. We are here with one of our law clerks. We start these podcasts like I start my depositions. So can you please say your name and spell your last name for the record?
Sure. My name's Amanda, last name Connolly, Connolly.
And you're not looking at your phone to spell your name. You're looking at your phone because those are where your questions are.
Correct.
Okay,
I
good.
do know my name.
Good. All right. We've established that. Good stuff. All right. So we have our law clerk program here at Groth Law, and every year we have the clerks come and ask me questions, and I don't get notice of the questions before right now. So this is kind of a free-for-all, and that makes it even more exciting, I guess. So we shall see how it's going to go. So question number one, what would you like to ask me?
All right. Question number one. How has your leadership style changed from when you had your first employee to today?
How is my leadership style? Okay, boy. I think it was much more, maybe the word is collaborative and working together to accomplish goals, which was necessary because it was two of us in a basement office with no windows, and we had all kinds of work to do, and I was doing paralegal work, and my paralegal was probably doing paralegal work, legal assistant work, receptionist work, settlement work, all the stuff, and I was doing lawyer work. So we were just working so much more together, which is different, a lot different than today, where I have to force myself to give other people responsibilities, and as you do that, pray that you don't micromanage too much, right? So I think it was much more collaborative back then because there were just two of us. Now it's not as collaborative. I don't work as much. I just don't have the ability to work with our legal assistants on a regular basis because there's just not enough minutes or hours in the day. So hopefully with our processes and our SOPs, our protocols that have been put together with our COO and other leadership team, I've given them the ability and the authority to put those together and work through those. So with that, I'm hoping that has made things smoother, and that would be the difference, right? That I'm delegating a lot more now and relying on others' abilities than I did back then, because it just wasn't possible when it's a two-person team.
That's fair. Thank you for not micromanaging us law clerks.
Yeah, well, I can start. I'm happy to start. Just let me know when. Yes, good question. Next question.
Okay. If you could go back and relive one moment from your legal career, not to change the outcome, but because it reminded you why you became an attorney, which moment would you choose and why?
Okay. So what moment in my legal career would I want to relive? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And
Boy.
Because it reminded you why you became an attorney.
Well, I have to go. The one that jumps in my mind, and then I have a couple more that jumped, but the one that jumps is I was in the parking lot of the courthouse up in Calumet County after a trial. My client didn't make it back in time to hear the verdict, so I was coming out of the courthouse. It was after hours. Everything was closed. It was February, so it was already dark at like 5 o'clock. My client and his wife went to dinner, waiting for the jury to deliberate. We got the call, so we got to the courthouse first. He didn't make it in time. We listened to the verdict. We got to the verdict, wrote it down. All the jurors were walking in the parking lot. The judge was walking in the parking lot, leaving. And finally, my client showed up in the parking lot, and I told him the verdict, and he was ecstatic because it was an awesome verdict. And grabbed me, and this client was probably at least 6'5", just former professional football player, just a great human being. And he grabbed me and just jumped up and down and was as happy as can be. I remember I had like beard rash or something on my face because he had a 5 o'clock shadow and was grabbing me and just, I got like rug burn on my face from his beard or from his 5 o'clock shadow. But no, that was a moment that I'll never forget because it was just a very special moment for me to have that reaction from a client that he had lived through this problem, this horrible injury for literally years. I don't know, if maybe 3-4 years from the time of the injury until the time of trial, and to have that resolution and that joy, knowing that he won and he was right, and he was able to get compensation to pay for a future surgery, that was a big deal.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I bet you didn't expect to get beard rash.
I did
from
not.
A client when you went to law school.
I never expected that. That was not. I don't think they have a class on what to expect or whether it's appropriate or not for clients to hug you or
pick you up.
Or pick you up. Or yeah, exactly.
Okay. Next question would be, what goal are you still chasing professionally?
What goal? My first thought is, so I think the answer is it's important to be a lifelong learner. So what's the goal? The goal is to just always get better. It's very broad and probably not as specific or not the answer you wanted, but I certainly enjoy learning. And, like this morning, I woke up and I turned on a podcast about lunch hour legal marketing, I like to learn what's new and what's going on. So the goal is to always, hone your craft and figure out what you can do to not only survive, but thrive in the short term and long term. So that's a very, very generic and broad answer. If you want to go like a very specific goal, I always talk about private jet money. That would be nice to have private jet money. It wouldn't hurt. But and it's good to have goals that probably are not achievable. There's an attorney down south who says they're BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. So it's good to have those. And then if you reach for the stars, hopefully you'll maybe touch the clouds. But I think that's a good goal to have. But the reality is, if you're always trying to improve, you should be fine in life, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Okay, next question. What is something that young lawyers worry about that ultimately does not matter as much as they think?
What's something that young lawyers worry about that doesn't matter as much as they think? Man.
It's tough. I know we worry a lot in law school. A lot of worrying.
That's a great question. I'm trying to think of what I worried about more than I should have. So something that my first couple bosses said is that when you graduate, you will commit malpractice every single day. Don't worry, because you'll get through it. As long as you continue to improve, and if you have a question, you come and ask the question, it'll be all right. Maybe it's the worrying and making yourself worry too much where you freeze, and then uncertainty leads to inactivity, and you're frozen with inaction. That would be a huge problem, because then as other things are moving and you're doing nothing, that's when you can get underwater and really have bigger problems in life. But I think worrying about messing up, you are going to. You certainly in law school, you think you're learning it all, but you don't. You're learning kind of the structure of law. The reality of it is so much different. One of the things that I again, another tip that I had from my early employers was going into court a lot and just watching. And going to court, like for example, I had a lot of small claims actions right out of law school. And I took the time to go to small claims and just sit there and watch how everybody reacted and talk to each other, and where you walked, where you sat, how you responded to the clerk or the judge or the court commissioner, whomever. Those were things that really helped me to get by and be less nervous and be not as worried about messing up, because I had that experience of at least being there. So yeah, I mean, you are going to mess up. It's part of reality. Just don't hide away when you mess up. Make sure that you fess up to it right away, or beforehand, just ask a ton of questions. I know I had some of my classmates who didn't go into firms, who just went on their own and didn't have like a mentor. And I think that was a huge mistake. So luckily I had attorneys that were very, very helpful. And I have attorneys now that from previous employers that I would consider a mentor that I still go and talk to. But if you're not in a firm and don't have a mentor, even go to like the bar association and find somebody to talk to. So you're not alone and you don't have anybody, and you don't get stuck being frozen and not knowing what to do.
I think that's really smart. Next question would be, what is something about you that people at the firm would be surprised to learn?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think with the new law clerks, you don't know, you haven't been involved in meetings last year or the year before. So some of the new team members, they may not know that when I went to undergrad, my goal was to be a jazz musician when I grew up.
I did not know that.
So there we go. So that's something that some people would be surprised. I was big into music and jazz, certainly blues and all that. In high school, played saxophone and went to college as a music performance major. Was not that for very long and switched my major. But that was ultimately my goal. When I went to college, I was going to go be a backup saxophonist in a band, or sitting in a room playing something for what's that, Muzak in elevators or whatever else.
Elevator music.
Yeah. So that kind of thing. That was what I was thinking. Well, that's maybe what I do, and then certainly it changed drastically, and now I'm here. So so that's something that maybe would be a surprise to you and others.
I was going to say, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
That is one I have not heard before, is music undergraduate to law school.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. If you weren't a lawyer, okay, this is kind of probably going to answer this. If you weren't a lawyer, what career do you honestly think you'd have pursued? So it sounds like you would pursue a music career.
No, probably not, because I didn't stay with it very long. So I switched that major pretty quick. What would I have done if I didn't go? I mean, my options were, if I didn't get into law school, my other choice was like going into the military and officer training school or something like that. So that was a possibility. Or probably the most logical thing would be sales, because there's a lot of sales and a lot of marketing, and certainly we're selling the brand of Groth Law, selling what we're doing. So that's pretty logical. A lot of what I do, the podcast is in part selling to others, so they can learn us, know and trust us, that the service we're selling is going to do right by them. So probably some sort of sales. Selling brooms or books or
brooms.
Door to door. I don't know what, but selling something probably. That's my guess.
Do they even do door-to-door sales anymore? I don't think
Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
I have good friends who did that, and just the stories they tell are awesome. But I don't know if they do that anymore. Now it's probably all just, it all goes down to the internet. And again, like AI and that kind of stuff.
what made you decide not to pursue the music major?
Spending hours a day in a room about as big as this table, learning and not learning, but probably learning additional scales and practicing my scales and my music was too much. So it's one thing to do that in high school where, you can go out and, I was in the bands and I went out and played on Brady Street in Milwaukee and what was in certainly my high school band and all that kind of stuff. But it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to go into college and be a smaller fish in a big pond. And then you're competing with people who are extremely good. And you have to learn not only your saxophone, but your clarinet, all the woodwinds, because you're expected then to know all of them. Because when you're a performer, if you see anybody performing with a jazz band or in a backup role, they might have every single woodwind in front of them. And for one song, they're playing saxophone. For the next song, they're playing flute. For the next song, they're playing clarinet. For the next song, they're playing tenor sax, that kind of thing.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I always figured one instrument was good per person.
No, I'm trying to think of the guy's name from Dave Matthews Band, for example, because Dave Matthews has a lot of woodwinds involved, saxophone. And when you see him live, they have a bunch of different instruments right there. And it's one person who's playing all these, picking them up and playing them. Jeez. So you have to be able to then understand, okay, it's this is in, we're going to play this song, and your instrument is B flat, this instrument's E or whatever it is, and you have to be able to transpose that in your brain as you're going along. And then are you improvising? If you're improvising, then you have to improvise in that instrument as opposed to the other instrument, which is different. So there's a lot of change and a lot to learn. And I was like, I tap out. I'm going to go do something else. So then I went into philosophy.
Okay.
I was a philosophy major for a while. And then I just realized I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with a philosophy major. And then switched to business and political science. And then
now you're here.
You go to law school if you're a political science major. That's kind of the deal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, very cool. I learned something new today about people who play instruments.
There we go.
Okay. Last question for you is about AI, since everybody is using it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
AI is changing the legal profession quickly. What's one task you think every lawyer should embrace AI for? One task lawyers should never rely on AI for?
Boy, what's one task a lawyer should embrace AI for? I use AI to certainly summarize things. Like, for example, like meetings, meetings we have during the week. I have my AI bot, my AI transcription service, I guess I'll call it, that sits in, and then it frees me up to really be more engaged in the conversation as opposed to me taking notes. Mm-hmm. And I've really come to rely on that. And then I can go back and look at the summary of what the key points were in that conversation and the takeaways. And then it sends it out to all the people who were on that meeting, so we were all kind of on the same page. That, I think, is fantastic, and I would certainly encourage everybody to use that kind of service. We use Fireflies, but I know there's like Fathom, there's Otter, I think Teams has one, Zoom has one, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something that I would say yes. Something I would not want lawyers to use. I think the easy answer is you shouldn't have AI just write a brief for you, right? You can have AI maybe review a brief and give you advice like another person. Hey, this is what ChatGPT. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? With my goal was this. Do you think I achieved that goal? Maybe those kind of things. But then it's the whole trust but verify, and you have to trust them and not trust them very far, because you have to verify every single thing and make sure that the citations are all good citations where they got the information and why they came up to certain conclusions. So that's, I guess that's the easy answer, because you see this all over the place, right? And I'm sure in law school they probably talk about that.
Oh, yeah,
that
all the time. They're
you're going to get in trouble.
Yep, you're going to get sanctioned. Don't do it. Any professional who's done it, it's very public knowledge. It's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There's been situations where professionals have been using AI to write a brief, and it'll just completely make up a case. And it's very interesting. The judge will catch it and be like, I know a lot of cases. I don't know about this one.
Mm-hmm.
And that could probably get you into some not so good places.
Yeah. It's not worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just cutting corners where you don't need to cut those corners.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a lawyer for a reason. You went to law school for a reason. So let's use those skills. It may take you a half hour more, but sometimes doing the dirty work and doing the hard work is important, because it exercises your brain, which is important for you not only now, but 10 years, 20 years from now.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree.
Cool. So what's the most interesting thing you've learned, not even here, but in the first couple of years of being a law student?
I've learned...
Or eye-opening, interesting, how else
I always knew law school was going to be hard, but I think hearing it's going to be hard and experiencing the difficulty is a whole different thing.
What's the hardest thing about it?
I would say it's very competitive. It's very high risk when it comes to competing with others to hit the curve. And law school has a terrible grading system, in my opinion, where you have to hit a curve, and anyone else who falls below, you're not doing too well.
Yeah.
So it's very stressful, because even if you do incredible on an exam, the person next to me could do 1 point better, and then I could miss the curve. And doesn't mean I necessarily did bad. I could have done phenomenal, but if someone else does better than you, it's very hard. And you're going from, like you said, big fish in small pond. I was very used to, being confident academically and knowing how to study and be successful on exams. And then going into law school, it kind of just throws you completely in, and you have to relearn how to study, because the exams are not the same. The studying is not the same, and you are no longer the big fish. You are the very, very tiny fish with a lot of other fishes that are very, very smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, law school was not fun the first year, for sure. And I know and this is probably different now, but back in the day, in the 90s, we heard the stories of going to the library, and your fellow students would find the case that was important, and they'd rip out the pages of the case so no one else could get the answer. So there were those kind of stories where, like, oh my gosh, we have to race to the library and grab the book before anybody else steals the case from the book,
It's so stressful.
Yeah. So that's probably different now, because you can't erase a page of the internet, but
Yes.
maybe there's other things that you are worrying about. Interesting. Cool. All right. Thank you. I'm trying to think of other questions I have, but I think we're at our time limit, so I'm going to be cut off, which is fine. You don't want to hear me talk for too much. Thank you for this. This is very nice to talk to you. Thank you for your hard work so far this summer. And we'll look forward to the next few months of getting to know you and getting to know personal injury law through your eyes.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cool.